Hey guys, so what I have here on the bench is a Starrett number 452E cylinder gauge. This is almost like a Starrett 196 back plunge indicator. At least the head of this looks just like one. But it's mounted on this housing, and it's got these bars on the back and this collet in the front that different size rods can be inserted into. And what this is this is a bore gauge. So it's for testing the roundness of a cylinder. I got this for 15 bucks, broken, and decided to take a chance on it for that. This is still in the current Starrett catalog. The price, the list price of a new one of these is like $598. Mine is a very early version, as is evident by the old box that it came in. I don't know how many rods are supposed to come with this. There was one laying in the box, and there were two stored in the handle. Only two will fit in the handle. So I don't know how many this came with total, but there are two rods that are stored inside the handle. So if you hear something jiggling in your handle, that's where some, if not all, of your extra rods are. Alright, so I took the two screws out that hold the handle on to get it out of my way. So what's wrong with this is that this moves freely, which is normal, but the needle doesn't move at all. Now, if I push down on the whole thing, the needle moves. But there's almost like a grinding noise. Something going on in there. So for starters, on this particular style indicator, just like on the 196, to get this apart, you have to start by taking off this bezel, which pries off. So you need a wide, flat screwdriver blade that you can wedge between this knurled area and the bottom lip of that metal piece, and carefully work your way around, and eventually it'll pop off. There's the crystal, even though it's plastic, call it a crystal. There's a dent right there, so that's got a couple of... Actually, that's not a dent at all, is it? No, that's pushed in or crimped in 4 places. And that's to retain this little ring. So there's a metal ring right here, and there's actually a space right there. So if I take that ring out, then I can take the face out, but I don't want to do that until I've removed the hand. I don't know of any way to remove this hand without destroying it, without having a hand removal tool like this. This is a watch hand removal tool I got off of eBay. It's a cheapo one, but it actually works pretty well. Used it several times to remove hands on indicators without a hitch. Alright, so now that I have the hand removed, I need to work on getting that ring out. So I'm going to need a sharp little pick instrument. Looks like the only way that face is going to come out of there is if I bend back these 4 corners that are bent in. Forgot to hit the record button, but I just used some wide-jawed needle nose pliers to bend back those areas. So now should be able to just pull this face right out. There we go. So now I see 3 screws, one here, and one here, that appear to me to be what's going to be holding this indicator mechanism into the space. So there's like just enough room to get the screwdriver in here to get this screw out, even though it's partially obstructed by this metal bar right here. But I don't want to take this metal bar out because this metal bar is the support for the shaft that the needle rides on. I think if I can avoid disturbing that whole mechanism in there, I'll be better off. I can clearly see that when I push this, what's supposed to happen is there's a rod in there that goes on like a barber pole or a worm gear. As the rod pushes up, there's a small rod on the side that sticks out like this and engages that gear. But that's not moving at all. So I don't think the problem is necessarily even in the indicator mechanism itself. I think it's in this lower unit. Oh yeah, we get a lot more going on under here than your regular run-of-the-mill 196 indicator. So I don't know if it matters or not, but yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm going to make sure that this goes back on so that this side of the housing with the bracket right here is facing these two posts right here, as opposed to putting it any other of 3 possibilities, I guess. So that moving this, pushing this up and down like a 196 indicator, that's all fine and dandy, nothing wrong with that. But this needs this gear, that gets moved up and down by this gear. And this gear needs to engage that rack down there. I don't see any broken teeth, which is good. Rack looks fine too. I noticed these 3 screws that I took out were very loose. I'm wondering, is it possible that this whole thing was floating? In other words, could it be just a matter of making sure that this is installed tight enough so that it seems to be doing nothing. What is going on here? I can't see anything obvious causing the issue, but I think it may be that the teeth are kind of flattened out here and damaged. Doesn't look bad at all, but it seems like maybe these teeth are longer here and then they get more short, or they're shorter, so that as this turns and it tries to engage, it's slipping out. These teeth on this side over here seem to be working fine. I'm thinking these teeth right over here are the problem. The interesting thing is, though, when I look at this gear, it occurs to me that the teeth from starting about here all the way around to about here, all of these teeth up on the top here don't do a darn thing, which makes me wonder whether or not I can reclock this gear and take advantage of these teeth up on the top here that have never been used and would not be worn. I don't know whether or not that was in focus during that little discussion there, but my thinking is the teeth on this gear that actually do the work are this little section right here and this section right here. But that these teeth on this back side, from starting at about this point going back this way all the way to over to here, they really don't come in contact with anything, so they have no wear on them. So I might be able to flip this gear around and get the unworn teeth in position on the bottom and then try it again. Alright, Under stronger magnification, I definitely could see 2 damaged teeth, and I marked the 2 damaged teeth with a black Sharpie, and I also marked the teeth that would engage that rack after those 2 damaged teeth, just in case they've got some wear too. And I'm going to now reclock that gear so that that section of those 2 damaged teeth and the section right next to it are up and in an area where they don't get used. And the way I'm going to do that, rather than trying to drive this pin out, I'm just going to loosen these 2 screws and see if I can't disengage this gear from the rack, and then rotate it out of the way. Just push that down by accident. Didn't mean to push this out of the housing. Just leave that in there. All right. Yep, piece of cake. So what I've done is I've loosened these 2 screws so that I can rock this whole mechanism out of the way. And I'm bringing those bad teeth way up here where they're not needed. Now I'm going to tighten this back. Now I'm going to tighten this bracket back down. All right, now drop this back in. Make sure the holes are lined up. Yeah, it's working now. Okay. So now I'm going to get these screws back in. All right, I got all 3 screws back in, and now you can see that rod right there, the end of the rod coming up. It's engaging well and coming up every single time. Now I got to get these little retaining rings back in that popped out. It shouldn't be too hard, I would think. It's like a wavy washer. It's being held in by a, there we go. All right. I don't know what those actually do. Those just support the face, I guess. All right. Doesn't really matter which way I put the face in because this outer bezel turns by design. But I do want to orient the hand so that it's clocked correctly, so to speak. All right, so I got that ring back in. There are little tabs on that ring that actually sit right in those little slots. And then once you get the ring back in, then I bent back in at those 4 tab locations the same way that it was before. So now the face is not loose. So now I'm going to reinstall the hand. I often have trouble reinstalling the hands straight on these things. Some didn't come out too bad because the downward force of trying to push the hand back onto the shaft rotates the shaft. And then I end up not quite getting it right, but this one actually not too bad. So now that's working exactly like it should. So the only thing I have left to do to finish this repair really is replace this crystal with a new crystal. But I don't have one right now this size, so I'll probably just leave this. I'll leave this bezel off for the time being until the new crystal comes in. So I hope you guys found this video useful, and if so, please hit the like button. Take care.